Hi, this is Ed Kaminsky from Christie's International Real Estate and the Kaminsky Real Estate Group here in Manhattan Beach. Welcome to the EdZone. What is the EdZone? It's a live broadcast where I'll be bringing you up-to-date real estate tips and techniques, whether you're investing, buying, or selling. And because it's live, if you want to participate, you can. You can just send a direct question right on your phone or iPad to me, and I'll try to answer as best as I can. Today, we're going to talk about 3 or 4 topics. Number one, what is the actual cost to sell a house? And more importantly, what are some of the hidden costs that you may not know about or your real estate agent may not tell you about that you need to be prepared for? Number 2, some quick tips on how to interview a prospective real estate agent. Number 3, signing a listing agreement. What does that really mean? And 4, a quick update on what's going on in the real estate market today. So we're going to talk about the cost of selling a property. If you've never sold a home before, we'll start with that, assuming that's never happened. When you hire a real estate agent to sell a property, you could ultimately expect that about 6 to 7% of the total sales price is going to go to the cost of selling your home. So that's a number you can use to calculate what you may net at the end of a sale. Let's talk about where does those costs actually go. Number one, you have the cost to your real estate agent. And for most of my career, you've seen commissions in the 6% range. There's certainly, as they say, they are negotiable. You see a lot of 5% commissions. Sometimes you see 7s. So it just depends in your marketplace, who you hire, and what's going on in the market where those commissions will fall. Second are your ancillary services that are involved in the transaction. Probably the 2 most costly is going to be your escrow company and your title insurance company. Those are costs that are borne both by the seller and the buyer. The seller has title insurance they're going to pay for. The seller has escrow fees they're going to pay for. Now there's going to be other companies like home warranty companies. You're going to have disclosures that you have to provide that certain companies are going to help provide for you. Those are some additional costs. I would say on average, the closing costs outside of commissions range between 1/2 and 3/4%. But really what you want to look out for are your hidden costs. What are those potential hidden costs when you're selling a home? I would say the most prominent ones are time delays. You expect to close on a certain day, you move out of the house, you're incurring costs by your new home, whether you bought a new home, you're renting somewhere, and the buyer doesn't close on time. Those can add up quite dramatically, and so you have to watch out for those situations. Number 2, repairs. You know, a lot of times as we live in a home, 1 of 2 things happen. We don't know that there's something wrong with the home, or number 2, we're just simply ignoring it because it just doesn't bother us. So as soon as a buyer buys your home, they come in, they hire a whole team of inspectors, they come in and inspect the home, find everything that's wrong with your house, and then they ask you to fix it. Some sellers say they're not going to fix anything, but some buyers say they won't buy your home unless it's fixed. You will have to make that tough decision at that moment when a buyer says, hey, can you fix this please? And it costs you $3,000. They discover mold, they discover a broken this or a broken that. These can add up to thousands of dollars. So you want to be prepared and earmark a certain amount of money for those hidden costs. Additionally, you have property tax. Depending on what time of the year it is, property taxes might be due, and those are going to be prorated at the close of escrow. So if you have any due, you're going to have to prepay those at the closing time. Additionally is your loan interest. Some people may not know, when you make your payment on the 1st, you're paying for interest for the previous month, not the future month. So if you close at the end of a month, you haven't any major mortgage payment yet for that month. It's not due to the next month. So that will be deducted from your closing costs at the end of a sale. And probably the most costly hidden cost is poor management of the real estate transaction, whether it's through choosing the wrong real estate agent or the wrong lender that the buyer has and it's just handled poorly. these can cause all kinds of hidden problems and costs during that transaction. So those are most of your costs related to the sale of a property. Again, use 6 to 7% from the sale price as an approximation for closing costs. We're going to move to real estate agents. How do you pick one? How do you pick a good real estate agent? And, you know, I always recommend that you interview at least a few agents before you go ahead and make that final decision. You'll be quite surprised at the differences between them in these presentations. Sometimes you can't tell, but many times you can just on the interview process. I'll also share with you, real estate agents might be interviewing you in this process. A good real estate agent isn't going to take any listing. They're going to be asking you about motivation, where you want to go, why you want to get there, about your house. I mean, a great real estate agent asks a lot of great questions. It's kind of like a doctor. I share this story. If you're going to walk into a doctor and you tell him you have a headache, and he says to you immediately, let's perform brain surgery, probably not the right doctor for you. He probably should be asking you a few questions first before he pulls out his scalpel. A good agent will do the same. So what should you ask an agent? I wrote down 10 really good questions, and I'll share those with you now. Number one, how long have you been in the business? Nothing is more valuable than experience in any business. So knowing how long someone's been in the business is going to give you some idea of their experience. Number two, how many homes did they sell last year? I'll share with you an interesting statistic for our marketplace. In the South Bay alone, we had about 7,000 sales last year. We have, I believe to date, over 4,000 active real estate agents. Quick math will tell you the average agent last year did 2 sales. I will tell you 2 sales in 1 year is not a lot. It's not a lot of experience. So this is just to give you some semblance of an idea of what to look for in their experience. Number 3, what is your real estate agent's average list price to sales price ratio? They should know this number. Number 1 is going to tell you 2 things about your agent. If their list price to sales price ratio has a big gap or a small gap, what's it going to tell you? Number 1, how good are they at negotiating for you? And number 2, how well did they properly price the property in the beginning? It's known that there are a lot of agents out there that will overprice a home to try to win the listing, but that can end up costing you money in the end. So find out what that ratio is. That'll be very helpful. Number 4, what is their marketing plan for your home? They should have a defined plan, and they should be sharing it with you. Some of those things in the plan would be, do they advertise? Where do they advertise? How much advertising do they do? And is your home going to be a part of that advertising? Number 3, who takes their photography? I can tell you, if you go online, you probably see the same thing. You'll see some great photography that's out there, and you'll see some horrendous photography, clearly taken by someone's cell phone, running through. They see themselves in the mirror. It's really important. I think photography is one of the most important things to consider when you're picking your agent, and how they do that, and do they hire a professional? Are they doing video? Are they doing drone footage? Are they just doing cell phone shots? Find that information out. How do they market you online? Clearly, 98% of buyers today are going to find your home online before they see it in person. So how well are they getting your home online presence, social presence in the marketplace? The 5th question to ask, can you provide a list of references? Clearly, if you make those calls to a few of their references, you'll get a sense of what this person is all about. Number 6, what separates you from the competition? Hear what their answer is. I mean, there's clearly thousands of different agents to pick from, and they really all are different. Just because they have a real estate license doesn't mean they're the same. Find out what those differences are. Number 7, what is your guarantee? Do they provide a guarantee? If you sign a contract, can you get out of the contract? Or are you locked in for the term of the contract? And we'll talk about that more in a second. What service professionals do they work with? There are so many different service professionals involved in a real estate transaction. Knowing that they have a trusted list of those that are going to be helping quickly when needed is very valuable. Number 9, how available are you when I need you? Are they working part-time? Are they too busy and have no backup staff that help with some of the ancillary things that have to happen? Who's going to be negotiating the contract for you? It's good to know, how do they handle their day? Ask those questions. And number 10, always a great question, you hear it on interviews all the time, what else should I know about you that I haven't asked? Hearing what they say after this can be valuable. You never know what you'll pull out of someone. So I'm going to go back to what happens when you sign the listing agreement. What have you obligated yourself to? It's important to know what's in the listing agreement. I'm going to say the number one thing you're going to look at is the start date, the end date, the commission, and what else did they add in there about their get out clause. Most of the contracts don't have one. So what does that mean? When you sign a listing contract and you go into the process with them and you discover you don't like them, they're not doing their job, can you get out of the contract? Most of the time the answer is no. You're truly stuck with this real estate agent. So there are some that may write in a guarantee, some that say you can get out, many won't. So before you sign anything, be sure you've done your due diligence, you asked the questions you wanted, you've checked their references. Be really, really careful with that. The other question comes up with is, what if someone wants to buy my home and for whatever reason I change my mind? What did I just sign with this listing agreement? Well, what you've signed is an agreement that if the agent goes out and does their job, they find you a qualified buyer, let's say they're willing to pay full price, all cash, you've committed yourself to a real estate commission at that point by signing a listing agreement. You may not be forced to sell it to a buyer, but you might be forced to pay a commission. So if you're not sure you really want to sell your home, don't sign a listing contract. That's advice number 2. Moving on. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in there. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about the market conditions and where we are today. I think we have some graphs that may go up on the screen, but if not, I'm just going to tell you quickly. Some things I was looking at is, take a closer look at this, the for sale versus sold graph. What I've noticed here is we've seen a pretty steady stream of how many homes are for sale versus sold over the course of the last few years. That hasn't changed this year. So we're seeing really a very steady market. We're seeing a bit of a tick up in interest rates right now and possibly a tick up in prices, but really still somewhat of a seller's market. The other thing I'm looking at is days on market. If you look at the average days on market, it's been fairly steady. What I've noticed personally is maybe a slight increase last year, and I think that is continuing this year. But days on market always gives you an indication of where we are. It's relatively low for Southern California. Low meaning under 45 days to sell a house. And you'll probably notice if you're buying in today's market, the good ones are still going the first weekend. Months of inventory, this is probably the most telling of what's going on in the marketplace right now. With the months of inventory right now, it's probably a couple months of inventory on the market right now. That is very low for a real estate market. That indicates it's a seller's market. So in a seller's market, that means you're likely paying full price, you're competing with other buyers, sellers aren't as cooperative with repairs, just something to watch out for. And the last one I have is the absorption rate. And I don't know if I gave that to you guys, but the absorption rate basically is how many homes are selling, how many months of inventory left in the marketplace, And right now it's extremely low, which again is indicating a seller's market. And I'm just going to touch on the next episode. We're going to talk about something really important. If you're a buyer, you're thinking of buying in this marketplace, what is it going to cost you to wait? And I'll tell you with this, assuming based on the projection which we're hearing is slight appreciation, an increase in interest rates, what is the actual cost to wait 1 year or 2 years or 3 years? Whether you're ready or you're not ready, we'll go into that on the next episode. So with that, I'm going to just see if there are any questions. Can I see them on the screen? Mm-hmm. That's a great question. How much will a time delay cost? Well, time delays are going to be dependent on your personal situation. A time delay would cost you money is if you moved out of your house, you're paying mortgage on your home, you're paying mortgage on your new home. It's basically the cost of one of those mortgage payments that's going to cost you. Now, if you really haven't changed your living situation and you're in the same place, there may not be a cost. If there's depreciation going on in the marketplace as the property values decline, well, that's where it gets scary. We've been in an upward moving market, but we're not always going to be in that market. So time delays can cost you a ton of money once we start getting into a declining market. But even today, if interest rates pop up and you can't buy your new home, and now you're paying a higher interest rate on your mortgage payment, that can be a cost. So it's hard to calculate where that's going to be. It's going to depend on where interest rates are. Bruce from Torrance, what's more important, how long an agent has been selling homes or how many homes they've sold recently? That's a very good question. I would say clearly how many homes they've sold recently. There's certainly people that have been in the business for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but they're not active. They sold 1 home a year, they sold 2 homes a year, but they've been in the business 20 years. I'd probably rather hire someone who's been in the business 4 years, but sold 40 homes last year. That means they're in the know, they know what's going on right now, they're working hard, they're active. So I look at both, but how many homes they're selling is probably a little bit more telling. Charmaine and PV said, should I pick a realtor who has fewer listings and clients so they can give me more attention? I love that question. Do you really get more attention from someone who has not much business? It's a good question. Or I guess the question is, why do they not have good business? And I use this analogy sometimes. Think about you're on vacation. You go to a new city and you want to pick a restaurant. You know nothing about the restaurants other than you walking by and you see 2 side by side. One, you see one, it's almost empty. There's a guy standing out front, twiddling his thumbs, trying to wave some people in, but no one in the restaurant. Now, you look next door, there's one, it's hopping, it's busy, there's music, people are laughing, they're enjoying their food. Which restaurant are you going to walk into and why? Now, the one restaurant may not be busy, you may get lots of attention, but there's a reason. Is their food crappy? Is their service crappy? Why don't they have repeat customers coming back to that restaurant? There's something that tells you a really busy agent with a lot of listings, they're doing something right. They're getting things done. Do you ever hear the saying, we want something done, give it to a busy person? This is the same in the real estate business. So I would try to understand if they're busy, why are they busy, and do they have time and a system and a plan on how to help you? And if they're not busy, what is the real reason why that's the case? All right, another question. Is a realtor the best person to advise me on doing construction or upgrades to my home before selling? Yes and no. It depends what the realtor's experience is in doing construction and remodeling. Just because they have a real estate agent does not make them an expert in construction, certainly not in design. You have to look at, have they done construction before? Have they built their own home? Have they remodeled homes before? Have they advised on that before? That's really more important. So find that out first about your real estate agent, and if they haven't, then talk to a contractor, talk to a designer, talk to a stager. These are the people that probably would give you better advice on whether to remodel your home. And one last comment. I get this a lot. How much is my home worth? Is there a way to find out? There's a lot of online models that can give you a quick evaluation. We actually have one too that you can go to, and it's at edzonevalue.com, edzonevalue.com. When you go on there, you just type in your address, you're going to get a free appraisal to know approximately what your home is worth. It's not always 100% accurate, but it'll give you a rough idea, at least something to start with. In the meantime, thank you for watching another episode of EdZone. We appreciate you watching, and you have a great day.